For a mother to give birth in the middle of the Atlantic is impressive. To do that while under a hunger is nothing short of miraculous. So today, it's myth that explain the G and why she was as gentle with the Irish. But please don't get me wrong. We are a modern people. If we wanted to explain away a miracle, we could do so as easily as any. Captains are confident, they travel with confident doctors. That is irrelevant to the Irish. Stories outlive fact here. We were given a very difficult history, and today we deal with very simple stories. So I'll tell them to you as they were told to me on the way back home. But for now, we'll follow the genie out to sea. We're moving towards the newest part of Ireland, and it's new because you wouldn't have recognised this place 50 years ago. Back then, this was the heart of the city. This was where we made all of our money, and obviously we were exporters. 8 out of every 10 glasses of stout enjoyed on planet Earth flowed down the River Lee. When you think about a monopoly like that on a small little town like Dublin, it was everything to it. Everyone made their money via that trade. Lines, dockers, checkers, stevedores, stagecoach drivers. The name of the game was motion, logistics. Even the tertiary trades made a good bit of money here. The first job my dad ever had as a youngster, as a kid, he would pick up horse shite along the north wall from the carriages moving down towards the dock and sell that as fertilizer. You could make money in the 50s by doing so. My dad ended his life as a computer engineer. It's difficult to explain to you what the 20th century did for Ireland. It changed us in a big way. The economy here exploded. We were just along for the ride. Today, it's a very different city. You can still see the red bricks where those men ran out of, but they would want to know why there's a glass and steel office block resting on the roof of that room. To explain what happened to Dublin, to explain why this river is silent, why I'm selling you culture rather than selling you stout, I would only have to explain one invention, how it totally killed the city of Dublin. It's called containerization. If you know anything about logistics today, you know that when something moves, it does so in a massive metal box. And you can't pull a metal box up a river with a horse. So there's no such thing anymore as a linesman, as a docker, as a checker, as a stevedore, as a stagecoach driver. What once took 100 men now takes 1. And the economy of this city shut off overnight. So our economy was given an ultimatum. They were told to restore economic action to this city by any means necessary. And they did what they had to do. They made a deal. The reason we have so much glass and steel in Dublin today is because we're not storing spirit here anymore. We're storing entities that I imagine you're more familiar with. We're storing Google, TikTok, Facebook, Meta, OneSec. You sail now on one of the richest waterways on this planet, the Silicon Docks, the home for some of the largest corporations to have ever existed. Now, they haven't come to Ireland for the weather. They tell us they've come for the highly educated, English-speaking, forward-facing, tech-savvy, youthful EU populace. That's another one of those Dublin lies. They've come for the 0% corporate tax bracket. That's what's brought the likes of these massive corporations to us. You can see them all around us. You can see the price that they extol also. If you look yonder, you'll see the last piece of red brick that the Irish would behold before we lost them to the sea. That's the Northern Railway Hotel. Families will gather up from every county in this country just to be split apart. And today, a lot of the history of that building is lost, devoured by Salesforce. I don't know what Salesforce do. They hire Dubliners and they fire Dubliners. But beyond that, I could never really figure out what it was. But this style of architecture is spread now all throughout the dock. Obviously, I'm a bloke on a boat. If you wanted to be nice to me, I'm a cultural historian. I tell stories. I'm very lucky to have the job that I have. A lot of Dublin today makes their living in these office blocks. So we do need them. But we also need the 13th centuries that made us Dublin. History is non-negotiable to our city. So you have an awful lot of strange architecture where we insist on maintaining a lot of this red brick. If you're good with a camera, you can come down and find some really spectacular finds, but you will also discover the greater treasure that this kind of economy has brought to Ireland. I told you that we never recovered from An Bord Mhór, and that is true. Our population is quite low, but thank God it is growing now. It's a very healthy, multicultural community. A lot of people come to Ireland now, and for people that long emigrated to it's wonderful to have that generosity paid back to us. So this is now a very healthy economy, and it is sustained on the back of these mega corporations. However, as a tourist, as a visitor to this city, I do have to warn you that as you're coming out here to enjoy these newfangled technologies the Irish call burritos, you will be paying JP Morgan prices. These are very expensive locales. This is where we have all the bougie parts of Dublin. This is where the cocktail bars, the stage shows, the bankers, this is where it all exists. So unless you have a ticket for the likes of the Riverdance, which was invented, by the way, just over here on the left, in this little arena called the Tree Arena. That's what the Riverdance was for. So this is one of the most sought after stage spaces in our country. And in just a moment you'll see the Aviva Stadium, and that's of course where we play a great deal of sport. So if you're looking for live performance, if you're looking for cocktails, if you want a night out basically, if you're looking for a shebang, you have to come out to the sea in Dublin, because that's where all of that activity is. Holy moly, we really shouldn't be able to see as far as we can see. It's rare that the clouds would clear, but we can make our way all the way to the Wicklow Hills there. You see the height behind the city. We lie to a lot of people again. We tell them that those are mountains, but the Irish don't have the tectonics to make a mountain. We only have hills. But those hills are very important. They are the reason the Irish were never destroyed. The Anglo-Normans, when they came into this valley, they completely wiped out the Irish here. They created a land called the Pale. But they were never able to push us further than those hills. And that's why you have a part of this earth called Beyond the Pale. Beyond those hills you have the likes of Connemara, Glendalough, the land of St. Kevin. Some really wonderful places. So if you manage to hop on a bus that's taking you outside the city, if you manage to get beyond those hills, there's some beautiful parts of the world also. For ourselves, of course, we do have to spin the boat around here. Talking about journeys and as far as they can go, we can't go any further east because that way lies England, and I won't let that happen. So we will take ourselves home, but we will try to pick up any little bits of history that we may have missed before we have to leave this place. I know today there's so much glass and steel that it would lead you to believe that we were always wealthy, but we weren't. Where the city falls into the sea, that's where the misery was. To the north side you have Montgomery Street. In the Irish we shorten that to the Munt. You've heard our folk songs, you've heard about the Munt. This is where families were forced to make a living in any way that they could. The likes of Molly Malone would have raised their children here. The soldiers, the locals of this city would have entertained themselves through the streets of that month. It was a downtrodden and a difficult place, but it was the only reason we were able to preserve the culture which we did. For centuries, created poetry, song, dance, folklore, all of that was outlawed. It was only these clandestine communities that held that culture aloft long enough that it was preserved. Today the Monto is a crucible of culture in many ways. If you can imagine it, the south side of our city had it even worse. We Irish, we were Christian for a very long time. We suffered terribly under that most Christian affliction known as the leprosy. And leprosy couldn't exist within the liberties before the eyes of a bishop. He wouldn't allow it. He'd drive you out, he'd set you against the sea. You could cure yourself with death. On that terrible spit of land, even today called Misery. That's where you'll find Mark Zuckerberg, by the way, if you're looking for him. Meta Misery Hill Dublin. We forget nothing in this city. So there's some interesting place names, some interesting history. If you're good at pointing the camera, you should definitely come down to the dock. It's the only place on earth you're going to find Georgian brutalism, the likes of these very strange hodgepodge mixtures. It was always a very weird place architecturally. Stoker and Shelley, our Gothic authors, they came down through the docklands when they were writing their novels, and it's always been a rather strange hunt. So in the evening you get a bit of time to come down, but certainly if the weather clears a little bit, it is quite nice. I know there is certainly some hidden history. For instance, just beside us we're passing Spencer's yacht. The Spencers are a very famous family in this part. They were wealthy and they invested all over Dublin. One of the things they did was they built a dock here, and any vessel that left had to give a bit of money back to the Spencer family. That cyclical economy made them not only wealthy but influential. One of their descendants by the name of Diana became not only Lady of England but Princess of all Wales. get out to the sea. Obviously, the likes of the Titanic or the Lusitania, they couldn't come up this river. So we would have to ferry the first class passengers in particular. It was a great job, obviously. You rub shoulders with that clientele. But fortunately, the interliner business came to the iceberg in 1900, so the Glenard no longer sails through. But you can still get aboard, and she is a lovely place to take a pint anyway. Nobody pays us to recommend anything on this tour, but the Glenard is just a very nice boat and a nice place to drink. But beside her, you'll see a lovely piece of architecture that the Irish used to get the attention of the world. We had to show them that we were ready for the 21st century. So we daringly pierced the sky here at 23 degrees. That's the angle at which the Irish pour a pint of Guinness. And then we build a bridge ahead, shaped like a harp. Now a harp is a magnificent instrument, but it's a shite bridge. And the reason all the vessels in Dublin are parked where they are is because they can't actually get under this bridge. In our haste to be spectacular, we forgot to be practiced. Now, if you've never met an Irish person, you know that that is a common trait. And that is because we suffer from an illness. It's an old one, and it's contagious, and it's ancient, and you probably have it yourself already if you haven't. It's called notion. The Irish, when we get a case of the notion, we get very big hats, or we wear very flashy shoes, or we get a second washing machine. We just lose the run of ourselves as a people. Now fundamentally, in the early 2000s, we got a case of the notion that was so bad, we spent money that you wouldn't believe down. We got built a ship like Tank Crab, or British ship like Harp. The city took off in it. Now, our tour is going to end in about 5 minutes. Why should be a decent Dubliner and give you a piece of advice? I'm not taking away from that bridge. It's spectacular. It's built by Santiago Calatrava. That's the greatest Spanish architect who's ever lived. He was the man who rejuvenated the One World Trade Center, the train line that leads that company. You can imagine the price tag that came along with a Calatrava installation in Dublin. Today, that begins the document. You go further than that bridge, you're amongst the likes of the bankers, the movers, the shakers. It's a very expensive part of Dublin. I only go down there, locals only go down there if we're hoping to impress. That's the likes of the Cocktail Bar and the set. Most of what you're looking for in Dublin, you're going to find again further west into the old border, into Liberty. You only have a limited amount of time in our city. The bank for your boat, and most back where we started our tour. Specifically on the south side, that's Temple Park. That's where you'll find the college, the cathedral, the museum, and a lot of that is free admission. So you can do a little bit of activity in the west. For ourselves, we have one last thing to do because we're on the hill to Gene. That means that I owe you an iron leg. I can tell you why this vessel was ruined in the sea. As mariners, we know that the spirit of a vessel is stored within the figure. You can run aground as much as you like, as long as you preserve that figure. So it won't surprise you that the spirit aboard the Gene is very powerful. After Noah's flood, the Irish were adrift within the Atlantic. They have a place name, or a landmass, or a people, or a language to call ourselves together. In this desperation, we were found by Godin, who was so powerful in art, gentle in her way, that she brought us together. She gave us our first word. We swore that if we ever found a landmass to call our own, we would name it after her. Her name is Eru. She's the reason we sail on a land called Erin, the reason we are Irish. Regardless of how you meet her, you might find her to be as enchanting as we first did. She does have a way of bringing people together. We'll moor up here. It'll take us a couple of moments to do so, but please, once we're on the shoreline, ask us about this country, this city. We won't be ashamed to tell you about it. Our flags are here for a reason also. If you're here for a couple of days or weeks, hop into it. You will help. You can afford a tip for the crew, that helps us. We're not strangers to reality on board this vessel. Weather's changeable. You'll either need to dry yourself or cool yourself in a pub. The pints won't be cheap. They understand the situation. If you do need us, you know where to find us. Thanks for coming to Dublin. Cheers.